Welcome to Cultivated Live for Friday, June 7th. I always get confused towards the end of the week what day it is, but it is June 7th. My name is Jay Rosenthal. I'm the co-founder of Cultivated Media, the host of this program, Cultivated Live. And since we launched, our goal at Cultivated has been to be cannabis industry first, providing you with the most important, insightful, useful, and timely information. We do that in a couple of different ways. One, our daily newsletter, Cultivated Daily. We do it through this daily live stream on Cultivated Live. So follow us on LinkedIn, subscribe to us on YouTube, get our newsletter in your inbox. And even today, we're streaming to my Twitter feed. So hello, folks on Twitter. This is going to be a great show. I am here today with Nicole N'diaye from Bossy Buds. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of different things as it relates to New York. Nicole, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Jay.
I'm very excited to have you. And we were talking before we came on, and I think both of us are suffering a little allergies today. So you've been to more farms than me. I was just doing some yard work. But talk to me a little bit about, before we sort of jump into what you're doing now and about home grows, talk to me about a little bit about your background in the industry in New York and other places as well.
Well, so my background initially comes from farming. So I am a farmer. I started off in community gardens back in 2016, approaching, kind of shortly after medical was approved in New York. I visited a dispensary and I spent $1,000, and that's when I knew I had to get in the industry. And I walked my community looking for community gardens because someone said if you can grow good fruit and vegetables, you can grow good weed. So I wanted to be the beginning, like the alpha of the industry. So I focused on cultivation. But not only that, I focused on the laws with the hemp bill. I read the commodity report that Cuomo put out, so I knew that farmers or people would be allowed to do the research part of it. And I just focused on the Compassionate Care Act, the laws, the hemp bill, and I knew that marijuana would be legal. Didn't know they would allow hemp farmers to grow, but I'm glad that I was a hemp farmer and I came in the industry with a dozen farms. 10 farms.
And where are the farms in particular?
The farms are located from Dutchess County all the way up to Schoharie, and I work heavily with the Amish community. So I began, like I said, in 2018, and I partnered with a group of Amish. 10 of them joined my program, and 5 of them grew that year. So we grew 11 acres, 8 acres of CBD, and 3 acres of fiber.
And can I just ask what it's like working with the Amish community related to this? Like, how did you approach them? What is the relationship like? And I don't mean to, I'm just curious to sort of how you broach the subject with them and sort of what that relationship is like.
Well, I always say I'm a runner, I'm a track star, because Cornell had a hemp field day up in Fonda, and my landowner said, "Hey, this is about hemp. Go to it." I was in the room. Well, for one, I was the only one licensed in that room of about 150 people, and there were like these hats, like sitting on this coat rack, and I was like, "Wow, those are some cool hats." Was in the room with them all day. It wasn't until the end when I started seeing the hats leave, and then I started seeing these plain people leave, and I just ran behind them, and that's what I said, I'm a runner. And I just gave them my business card. I was like, "Hey, I have the license, looking for people to partner with." They clearly did not want to deal with the government. Like, they was like, "We don't want to deal with the government. We're farmers. We'll grow it. You do the paperwork." And after so many conversations with the Department of Ag Markets, I was allowed to add them to the license, because there was at one time in that research partnership where you could have added growers or locations, but I guess there was some problems with it, so they stopped it. But they opened it back up and allowed me to add the 10 hemp locations. So I added them. I had meetings with them. I called one of them. I call him the chief because he kind of like grounds them all together, and a lot of them migrated from Pennsylvania with him and his company. So I said, if he said, "How many do you need?" I said, he said, "It'd be about 10 people." When I arrived, it was like 50 Amish people. It was their kids, it was the wives, it was it was the horses, the dogs. It was just like the most amazing experience. And they are really good farmers. They steward the land really well, and they're hard workers. And I knew that this was a labor intensive crop, so I knew that the people that I would work with, they had to be well equipped with managing land, and that's the Amish and the Mexicans. So the other partnership that I organically grew was relationships in the community gardens with Mexicans, because they are the ones that steward the community gardens in the Bronx. So at any given time, you can see me, black woman, the Amish, and the Mexicans on the field.
I
Um,
would, I would love to spend a week with you. It's
sure,
fascinating.
sure,
I love
sure,
it. I
yeah.
love it. And obviously you're involved in candy. You're wearing a candy hat. You showed me before the cool part of the hat on the other side. Yeah, it holds a blunt. That's pretty good. It's a good hat, and that's a good feature of the hat. And so you've been involved, and you are involved in candy, obviously. And this is the buildup of the New York market, right? And so how have you experienced the buildup? And I mean, obviously, there's lots of conversation about sort of what's gone wrong, but from your perspective, what's gone right, and what does sort of the future hold in New York for the cannabis industry?
Well, so a little bit about Canny. I joined Canny when it was New York Growers and Processors Association, when the membership was a mere $50, right? And so with that, I think that Canny, as a trade organization, they fought a lot for hemp farmers. They fought a lot for the regulations. I mean, they are the reason why hemp farmers were allowed to grow. And we had a lot of wins with what we do. Originally, I was asked to join to lead the New York City committee along with Vanessa Yi Chang. And then Philip Ellis joined us later. But Vanessa and I used to host events for New York City. We had amazing events, amazing turnouts in the city, just basically educate and network and doing outreach, right? Just having just different events after events after events. And this kind of set the foundation, I think, for what to expect. It also opened up the doors for a lot of organizations and companies that were involved or that wanted to be involved with Canny to join and to grow and understand what we do at Canny. So mainly what we do, we're a trade organization that advocates for the industry. So we work with lobbyists, we work with policymakers to make sure that they're getting the bird's eye view from the operators, right? From the people that are in this industry, like doing the work. Because sometimes when you're making and creating policies and you're not talking to the people that are in the industry, there is a gap there. And then it has, the ability to have some flaws. Now, what I would say is that you can look at all the states. I do extensive research, and this is why I kind of always stay a little bit above the curve when it comes to certain things in this industry. If you look at other states and how they rolled out, it's just either you're going to roll out with big companies or you're going to roll out with social equity. New York chose social equity, and the sad thing is that the way things have been rolled out. It hasn't been perfect, but there has been some good things that has came out of it. It's like they're flying the plane and building it at the same time. So it's going to be some flaws, right? Have they done the worst job? No. Could it have been a little better? Yes. But, as someone that is actively in this industry, things happen, right? And how do we correct it? How do we move forward? How do we fix it? I'm not so against multi-state operators. I'm just against them when they don't include social equity in their plan and the people that were kind of harmed by the war on drugs, Jay.
Yeah, yeah. And talk to me about Bossy Buds and about home growing, because I know
Oh,
that's yeah. Talk to me about that.
yeah. So, Bossy Butts, that's my
Oh,
brand.
I didn't even realize that was on the shirt.
Oh, yeah, that's my little shirt and my
I like
little
it.
brand. Oh, thank you. So, Bossy Buds was created because Nahi, which is my original hemp license, which is Nahi Farms, that is the license that hold the hemp. I created Bossy Buds as boss of many things. So years ago, I had Bossy Buds on a license plate of a Charger that I drove too fast, and they used to think I was a little bootsy running around because they didn't know how to pronounce bossy. But it just means a boss of many things. I've had that name since 2000, probably six, and it's just something that I said, well, let me use that. So I created that separate entity when I was allowed to apply for a cannabis license because I
Sure.
wanted to keep them separate. Right? And just to be clear, the Amish do not grow marijuana. They have no involvement in my marijuana production. They are strictly and only hemp. Right. So I wanted to keep it separate. So Bossy Buds was created when I actually applied for the license. And with Bossy Buds, my main objective was to really like do education. I'm a professor also at Mega Everett's College. I teach Introduction to the World of Cannabis.
Mhm.
And the main goal was to really educate, right? Because this plant, we used it for 3,000 years, but it was banned for 80, right? So just redeveloping the mindset with the stigma of the plant is needed, and it's still needed. um, it's more of an equity issue with home grow because I was a user. I spent $1,000, right? So just imagine if I had to spend that money every month. But if I had the ability to grow my own cannabis at home, I would spend still some of that money, but it would be limited, right? And I would be able to supply my own medicine or my own, cannabis, right, for me to treat myself. So
Yeah,
that's kind of where. So I've hosted multiple events. We're going to launch. I have a fully stocked store with tents, soil, newts, lights, fans, everything from nuts and bolts that you would need to really be able to grow. And then we've created like a Discord channel to be able to have collaborators assist growers on their home grow. So that's
nice.
it. Thank you.
I like it, and every home grower, whether they are experienced or not, can use that community right to
Absolutely.
help them and share ideas, share best practices, share what works and what doesn't. And is it different? I mean, a first timer needs all the help, but my experience has been that when people need help and like sharing their expertise with others as well.
Yeah, for sure. And it will be advanced growers on the platform, but it will just be a community of people that just ultimately want to share their ideas. We'll have opportunities for people to win things, contests, as far as different growing mediums, a whole host of things. But it will be a really good opportunity for people that doesn't have a green thumb, because that's what a lot of girls say. I don't have a green thumb. Well, you can have a brown thumb, a blue thumb. It doesn't matter. With this particular program, it's a lot of education and networking within this realm. But we're
Yeah.
going to focus on New York City and the state of New York because this is where I operate, and we know it's not federally legal yet.
Right, right. No, I always think, I mean, when, and you see what when other states legalize, and I live in Canada, and there's one province that didn't allow home growing, which didn't seem to make any sense, right? It's like it doesn't make any sense, and you can't really stop it anyway. Like if people want to grow at home, they're going to grow at home.
Mm.
You might as well have a supportive ecosystem to either help them do it or make them do it, so they're actually quite good at it, right? That's sort of your game plan. And I wonder how people are finding that because it is like if I want to do it at home, and I would like to do it at home, like what kind of footprint do I need to grow at home?
Well, it just depends on what you want to do. So if you're growing it in a tent, right, indoor, then you would need like a 2 by 2, depending on how many plants. Some states allow more than others. New York State is 6 minimum, 12 maximum for 2 adults, and medical is allowed to grow at home as well. So you would first assess the area in which you want to grow. Make sure that you could afford, if your light bill was to jump a couple of dollars. And then if it was outside, the first thing we would do is take some soil tests of the area that you would want to grow. Make sure that it's kind of like not where people can actually see it, but they would have to like come on your property. Also, make sure with your homeowners association that you're allowed, because what I'm finding now is that in the paperwork they clearly state that you cannot, with FHA loans, they put it in the documents that you cannot grow cannabis on this property that you're buying, and you have to sign a document saying that you won't.
And you've probably already signed it if you're living there. You don't even know that you've signed it,
Yeah,
right?
I had a
Like,
friend that just bought a house and it came up, and he's like, I didn't want to sign it, but I can't grow cannabis, so you can't do home grow.
right,
So these
right.
are some questions that I would kind of like um, ask people that were interested in growing at home prior
Yeah.
to, because I wouldn't want them to spend the money on cultivating and then they have this issue. And I'm not sure if that really matters if it's indoor, right? Because if it's
Right.
indoor, no one can see it, but if it's outside, they can, right? And then just explaining the different mediums, like if you want to grow it in water, if you want to grow it in soil, cocoa, things like that, and just explaining it overall and just breaking down the different ways to do it. I'm also going to be teaching an online class that so it's one thing through the university, but this is a private thing that a friend of mine has put together, and I'm like in the process of doing the recordings, doing all the lesson plans and all of that stuff now for it.
Awesome. Awesome. I really appreciate talking to you. I really want to actually, you got some fan mail. You got a fan comment. You want to see it?
Oh yeah, sure.
Joe Rossi
Hey
on
Joe.
he said Nicole is the boss. I agree with that.
Hey Joe.
Actually
Miss you, Joe.
shown a comment before during the show, but I do like to do it. Nicole, I appreciate it. I appreciate what you're doing and the work that you're putting in. And would love to find time where we can meet. We're talking before again, meet some along the New York Thruway, somewhere upstate as time goes on. But thank you so much for your time today. Have a good and safe weekend. And for those following along at home, we'll be back on Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on LinkedIn, YouTube, my Twitter channel. Everybody have a good and safe weekend. This has been Cultivated Live from Cultivated Media. Find everything we do at cultivated.news. That's why I wear the hat. Much easier to find us. Nicole, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much for the having me.